Que ya viene la revolución, para que se asustan será para mejor. Es el pueblo entero el que ya está gritando, ¡viva la revolución!
Iranian nuclear weapons development.
They have turned the island into a communist hellhole.
The experiment in Venezuela has failed completely.
La bestialidad imperialista. Bestialidad que no tiene una frontera determinada ni pertenece a un país determinado. Bestias fueron las hordas hitleristas, como bestias son los norteamericanos hoy, como bestias son los paracaidistas belgas, como bestias fueron los imperialistas franceses en Argelia. Porque es la naturaleza del imperialismo la que bestializa a los hombres, la que la convierte en fieras sedientas de sangre que están dispuestas a degollar, a asesinar, a destruir hasta la última imagen de un revolucionario, de un partidario de un régimen que haya caído bajo su bota o que luche por su libertad. Y la estatua que recuerda a Lumumba, hoy destruida pero mañana reconstruida, nos recuerda también en la historia trágica de ese mártir de la revolución del mundo, que no se puede confiar en el imperialismo, pero ni tantito, nada.
Understand clearly when we talk about capitalism, who are the capitalists? As if we understand that there are only a few people who own and control the means of production in the society, then we begin to understand that there are a few capitalists. And these capitalists exploit everybody because everybody works for them. Everybody sells their labor to them. It is by selling your labor to a capitalist that he's really able to exploit you. The sole motivating force in a capitalist society is profit. Profit. That is the sole motivating force. Profit. Get money. Get it. Get it as fast as you can. Get it any way you can, but get it. Just get it. Just get it. We are imbued with the philosophy of capitalism, and sometimes we don't even recognize it. Thus you find brothers and sisters even selling dope to their brothers and sisters to make money. Again, because we're imbued with the philosophy of get some money. Ain't nothing wrong to kill for money. Hell, your country is napalming for money. You can certainly kill for some money. All right, just get it. Just get it. It's the overall philosophy. When we talk about revolution, we must talk about changing values. We must talk about changing values, and we must understand these values.
We must change our values. We must change our understanding of the world and begin to value family and community and socialism and human spirit, human work, and human labor, not financial capitalism, not Wall Street, not the London Stock Exchange. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 98, Unmasking Imperialism, Exposing Imperialist Propaganda in Mainstream Media. Today, the Wizards of Wall Street. You guys know just by the title, it's right around my alley. The Wizards of Wall Street exposing financial scam artists of the Anglo-Zionist and imperialist world order. During today's episode, we're going to shed light on the money magicians known as Sam Bankman-Fried, Bernie Madoff, and Steven Cohen. Sam Bankman-Fried was the guy who was in charge of FTX, that cryptocurrency or whatever it is, who lost billions of dollars and scammed a whole bunch of people and is hiding out, I think, in the Caribbean somewhere. Bernie Madoff, who, when I was younger, was known as the biggest con man of capitalism and imperialism earlier on. And Steven Cohen, who used to own the Mets in New York and also was involved in some of these financial schemes. We're going to talk about how these individuals and others were able to rake in billions by tricking people into financially supporting their investment schemes. We're also going to discuss the occult origins of financial terminology and the worship of money. What do terms like banks mean, and currency and liquidity? Why all these references to water? Why all these references to deities? And we're going to talk about all that and more. And of course, this is centered around an anti-capitalist understanding, a scientific socialist understanding. Obviously, we know that every hour of every day, theft is being committed and exploitation is being committed by capitalists against the working class. So I'm not trying to say that these individuals are acting outside of capitalism, that this is crony capitalism. This is indeed part of capitalism and imperialism. But it's interesting because these are the individuals who get highlighted a lot in mainstream media, especially right now with Sam Bankman-Fried and others who are part of this cryptocurrency stuff. They're getting a lot of attention right now. So it's interesting. I kind of tailor this at trying to target people who are seeing these capitalist schemes take place and trying to help people understand why this is part and parcel of capitalism, why it's nothing new. This is actually incentivized by capitalism and imperialism. And today I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to open it up to comrades and people who are watching and listening to join. So I put the link to the stream in the description. Let me put that again. Let me see if I could get this link real quick. I just thought, I think it'd be good to open it up, diversify some of the voices. If you guys want to comment on this, I'm personally not a financial expert. I'm very financially illiterate, to be honest with you guys. But I think that makes for an actual better stream because I'm not coming at you with terminology that's too complicated. I'm not coming at you with concepts that are vague and only understandable to a few. I'm learning about this with you guys. And with this FTX crypto stuff, I want to learn more about it. A lot of people are talking about it. And I feel like as communists, we should be able to understand it and explain it to the working class people. So if you guys want to comment and jump in on the stream, there's the link. It's up above. I think, let me see if I could pin it. 1 second. Let me see if I could pin this real quick. By the way, shout out to everybody who's watching and listening. Happy Thanksgiving, right? Obviously, we don't really fuck with Thanksgiving out here, but we do enjoy celebrating time with family and celebrating time with friends and having time off of work. I got off of work early today, so I'm thankful for that. So here is the link to join the stream. If you guys want to come through, have a discussion, obviously focusing on this, right? We're not going to start talking about random other stuff. I mean, we could later on, but let's try to focus on Wall Street and Sam Bankman-Fried and crypto. What you guys think about crypto from a communist perspective? And I'm going to bring on our first comrade who has been waiting. Shout out to this homie, this comrade, Comrade Tian Wang, who's a communist content creator, who you've seen his stuff with a Mango Press, and based in the UK, a really amazing comrade with Chinese roots. He was on episode 76, The Economics of Imperialism, breaking it down with that fresh ass Mao pin right there, just hanging down.
Yeah.
Tian.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, we hear you.
Excellent. Now,
you're going.
I go back to episode 76 if you want to delve into a deep breakdown, relatively deep breakdown of what we're about to say, because this episode I'm not going to be on for that long. Hola, my SHSCH. I'm not here for that long, so I'm going to go on a little bit from how we could sort of fight, how we can fight back against imperialism and financial imperialism here. I would like to talk about it, go deep into it in a future episode, but what we can do here is right now what we've done already with Russia's war against in Ukraine is Putin has de-dollarized the Russia's national resources, and this is leading other nations, because as we discussed last time, the Americans, well, I say Americans, the Wall Street bankers debt trap the entire world, and they have the goal to call China the debt trappers.
Right.
They debt trap the whole world by printing out dollars as loans, and then they expect their loans back and more, and therefore statistically there's no possible way, there's no statistically possible way for everyone to pay back all of their debts. This is go into episode 76 if you want a deeper breakdown, but this is just a quick read. Now, what we're beginning to do is we are beginning to, that is the Russia-China camp, the global South, the third world camp of this global rift that's coming. This current Cold War is already started. No point saying Cold War; it's already started. This China-led coalition, if you will, is that what we're doing is we are going into the Middle East. We are going into the oil fields in the Middle East, such as the 25-year strategic deal with Iran, and oil deals and gas deals with Russia and and Saudi and others. And we are also trying to get Saudi and Iran to settle their differences. Now, what this means is that we have jumped outside the encirclement, the American-led encirclement with their Quad and with their antagonism in Taiwan, and also don't forget recently the current two biggest socialist nations have amended their ties very recently with the General Secretary of the CPV going to Beijing, the Vietnam's General Secretary going to Beijing and signing deals with Beijing. This is basically a slap in the face to Washington.
Hell yeah!
This is quite literally.
Yeah.
This is quite very much a slap in the face to Washington. Yeah, all right. We may have our differences with the Chinese, but we know what you're trying to do. You want the three-strike flag back onto Vietnam. You want the three-strike flag to be flying over Ho Chi Minh City again and rename it Saigon again. We're not having that. We fought for 30 years to try and kick you out. We're not having that. Okay, we may have our differences with China, but we're not having it. So this is the beginning of the fight back. Okay, it's very much like how the 8th Route Army dealt with both the nationalists under Chiang Kai-shek back in the day, and how we dealt with the Japanese as well. Okay, you can attack Yan'an, you can launch your offensives against Vietnam, Yan'an, the communist headquarters at the time. It's not capital since it wasn't a state, wasn't established at the time. So you can launch your offensives against us, but we're just going to go behind you. We're going to go behind enemy lines. We are going to set up revolutionary base areas behind enemy lines, such as with the whole of Latin America is now turning red. Lula is now empowering Brazil. Leftists are empowering Honduras. Is the leftist empowering Honduras?
Yeah.
What's her name? Is it Castro?
Xiomara Castro.
Xiomara Castro, not Fidel Castro, but Xiomara Castro. Cuba has been red for many years now, and there are socialist movements in Peru, so and so on and so forth. We have basically jumped outside. We've very much jumped outside their box, and we are beginning our fight back this way by getting them to try to sign deals with us, sign contracts with us to de-dollarize their national resources, to get rid of the dollar from their national resources, so that means what you're trying to flood us with the dollar. We just throw it back in your face. You can try and flood our village with the dollar if you want. We're just going to build walls around. We're just going to dig, get the Chinese in to dig a ditch and flood it back and send it straight back to you.
Right. Yep.
And send it straight.
Beautiful analogy.
And this is happening now. This is very much happening now. This is very much happening right now as we speak in Africa, in the Middle East, and in Latin America. And the US is getting more and more tired and more strained when dealing with this. And also, this is not just financial warfare. This is economic warfare. This is all-round warfare. We have an actual shooting war still going on in Syria and in Iraq right now. Even though the key to this front is Iran, we have to support Iran. And Iran, there's a lot of there's a lot of riots going on in Iran right now. Americans are trying very hard to open Iran, and Iran is really taking the strain from the NED right now. What we have to do is to support Iran, do everything we can to support Iran up front. Russia can look after itself in Ukraine, but Iran might not be able to. Iran is still the weakest of the three core members of the anti-imperialist coalition. Iran is definitely the weakest, and we definitely have to support Iran. We have to support Iran economically. We have to support Iran militarily. We have to support throw weapons at Iran if we have to. Arm Iran if we have to. Send them fighter jets. Send them whatever it is they need. We have to send it to them. Right now it's probably more since it's more of an insurgency warfare going on. So it's more light weapons and ground weapons, land weapons, and drones. But drones count as semi-light weapons. So kick the Americans out of Iraq and Syria. This is very important to do that. We have to keep fighting the Americans in Iraq and Syria. This is very much like back in the day how the Chinese Revolution, we set up revolutionary base areas. Whenever Chiang Kai-shek or the Japanese will attack one of our revolutionary base areas, we go behind them, go around them, set up a revolutionary base area behind their backs, behind them. This is what we're doing now. We're jumping outside their encirclement, and then we are setting up revolutionary base areas in Iraq and Syria are being set up right now, and we're trying to reconcile differences between Iran, as I mentioned earlier, and Saudi, and even Turkey is starting to come around and is wavering right now. So it's teetering on wavering right now, even though Turkey is still rather nasty. But so long as they come over to our side, it's better than not coming to our side, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
for sure. No, I like the analogy, Tian. I think starting off with that positivity and geopolitical analysis is very brilliant. I think your analogy of the wartime strategy of going around the enemy and avoiding their encirclement is really good. And what I wanted to ask you before you head out, and I bring our next guest, is just quickly before you head out, what are your thoughts on the whole Sam Bankman-Fried thing, the whole FTX and crypto? What do you think is the communist analysis of crypto?
Right. It depends on what kind of crypto. It depends on who's behind the particular crypto you're talking about, really. But if anything is coming out of Wall Street, do you honestly believe Wall Street? They caused I mean, they've been caught. I mean, how long ago did the what do you call it? The Wall Street crash that led to World War II happen? Nearly 100 years ago. They've been screwing with us for 100 years. Do you still trust them?
Right.
And big American corporations. Do you trust any big American corporation? Just like your food as well. Do you honestly trust Monsanto? Monsanto. Remember, Monsanto is responsible for producing chemical weapons that were used to destroy Vietnam. Do you trust them with your food?
We're gonna grow like a third arm. Yeah. No, it's true. I definitely agree. I think that's a great scientific approach to crypto as well, where you're not just looking at it as bad in and of itself, but understanding what are the economic forces behind it and how are they using it. I think that's very brilliant, because even in Venezuela, for example, they have the Petro, which is their own cryptocurrency, but it's a socialist cryptocurrency, which is very interesting. But Comrade Tian, I definitely want to have you back on, man. We got to do a whole episode about economics and China and the fight back, because I think you always bring that positivity.
I want my next episode to be about the Chinese Revolution and what we can learn in our what we can learn from the Chinese Revolution in our current struggle.
Beautiful.
That's my next episode. And can I read another poem from Chairman Mao before I go?
Sure, go for it.
Poem. Okay. This is Snow. He wrote it in 1936. He only published it 10 years later, but he wrote it in 1936. Okay, this is widely considered the magnum opus of Chairman Mao's poetry. I'm going to read it in English, translated by yours truly.
Awesome.
The northern scene, 1,000 leagues of ice, 10,000 leagues of blizzards blow. The great wall within and without, a shimmering still sheet of snow. The yellow river's raging torrent, frozen in time, stilled in its flow. The mountains dance like silver snakes, wax elephants on grasslands, vying for zenith with the Lord of Heaven himself in his chateau. On a fine day, adorned in a crimson glow, enchantingly so. This land rich in beauty, to which bowed many a hero from long ago. But alas, Qin Shi Huang and Han Wudi lack literary luster. Tang Taizong and Song Taizu little artistry they know. That pride of heaven himself, Genghis Khan, knew only shooting eagles, outstretched is his bow. All of them are past and gone, for only in our age is true greatness on show.
Beautiful. Wow. That's such amazing. People forget that Mao was such an amazing poet, an optimistic, and I know the episode's kind of pessimistic, but it's interesting, Wizards of Wall Street, but this is perfect poetry to combat the reactionaries, the Wall Street imperialists.
Exactly.
Tian, thank you so much, bro. We're gonna have to
explain the background of this poem very quickly. Explain the background of this poem. This background poem was, remember, this is 1936. Okay, this is the darkest years of just after the Long March, and Chiang Kai-shek's forces are pressing relentlessly on. Just before between the end of the Long March and the Xi'an incident. We'll go into the Xi'an incident another time for those who don't know about it. Go and Google it yourself to get a basic understanding. But we'll go into it another time. And this is the darkest time of the Chinese Revolution. The Communist Party is in a make or break situation. Either the Xi'an coup succeeds or the revolution is over. Now, shimmering silver sheet of snow, it's an analogy for the whole nation is in a dark, dark place right now. It's in a cold, dark place, but there's a lot of beauty, but it's under a heavy, heavy sheet of cold snow. But there's optimism. The heroes of long ago are long gone. But look at the ending. Even the pride of heaven, Genghis Khan, he only knew how to shoot eagles outstretched with his bow. But only in our time is true greatness, Angel. And he's not talking about himself. He is not talking about his Communist Party, but the people of China. Nowadays, this is referring to the people of the world, particularly people of the third world.
Yeah.
The 85% of the world's population that live in the third world.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Comrade Tian. We'll be in touch. Thank you again for that beautiful poetry.
We'll definitely be in touch.
Take care, Comrade. Bye-bye. Peace. Awesome. Comrade Tian, always bringing that amazing. What I like about Tian is that he has a lot of financial knowledge and background, but he also has a lot of information about poetry and the Chinese Socialist Revolution. China is the antidote to Wall Street. China is the antidote to capitalism and imperialism. So it's always great to hear from Comrade Tian. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in the next comrade just in a second. I'm going to play a little bit of a clip that I found. I started researching the whole Sam Bankman-Fried, and his last name is Bankman, by the way, which I find pretty interesting, about the FTX disaster. So I'm going to play a little bit of this, and I'm going to bring in the next comrade to talk about and react to some of this. Let me find... This is a shout out to, let me see if I can find their name. Cold Fusion.
Sam Bankman-Fried, with his moppy hair and unsuspecting look, is at the center of this story. He was born in 1992 in California to an academic and politically connected family. His mother, Barbara, is a lawyer and the co-founder of multiple Democratic fundraising organizations. Sam's father, Joseph, was a law professor and would later help his son raise funds for his company. In 2014, Sam would graduate from MIT and would go on to work at the New York trading firm Jane Street Capital. There, he realized that he could make untold amounts of money trading cryptocurrency. He discovered a loophole where he could buy Bitcoin cheaper in America and sell it for a higher price in Japan. Sometimes he would shift up to $25 million a day. In 2017, he would use the money from these trades to start his own company, Alameda Research. Alameda Research was made up mostly of Sam's MIT college friends and former work colleagues. This firm would later be a key player in the collapse. Sam supposedly believed in effective altruism, which he described as, quote, trying to figure out what practical things you can do with your life to have as much positive impact as you can on the world. He would make an impact on the world, all right, but it was by no means positive. Perhaps to appear more trustworthy, as Sam became rich, he would promote himself as the resourceful billionaire, choosing to drive an average Toyota instead of a typical supercar. But in reality, he would own a $30 million mansion in the Bahamas.
He looks like such a creep.
Regardless, many social media influencers would later buy into Sam's humble brand image, and many promoted his companies.
Okay, the guy you see next to me is the most generous billionaire in the world, and I found him.
Hi, my name is Sam.
He even sounds like a creep. I'm going to add in Comrade B-Level, who is on the stream from Ewoks Unhinged. Please check out his channel. He got shadow banned. Low-key, I think I got shadow banned too, because I noticed my views are all fucked up. But whatever, we're doing it. We're not doing it for money. We're not doing it for clout. We're not doing it for cults or careers. We are doing this as a contribution to the movement. How's it going, Comrade B-Level? Your thoughts on the Sam Bankman-Fried stuff, the FTX, crypto, and how do we as communists explain all this?
Yeah, man. How's my mic sounding, by the way? Is it too loud or?
Sounds good.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for bringing me on, man. It seems like the Bankman has fried a lot of people's savings. By the looks of it, I thought it was quite hilarious, his last name there. And that dude, the influencer he was speaking to, he was on our North Korea music episode. I think that guy He looks familiar. I think we reacted to him in
Yeah,
another.
he
stream.
was in
Yeah,
the
this guy.
BPRK video. Yep.
Yeah, I recognized him. But yeah. So I'm glad. I like the format for tonight. I was a little bit like, I'm not an expert on crypto myself.
Neither
but
am I. I don't know
this is
shit about
stream.
crypto.
I'm game to come in, but
Oh yeah.
I think one thing that's really good in these kind of online spaces is to figure out like what we're good at specializing and talking about. Like, some people are really good at econ, other people are experts in philosophy. I think my area is kind of more like geopolitics and stuff. So I was kind of interested in talking a little bit about Zionism on the stream because I saw that you mentioned it. If you want, we can. I don't really have too much to talk about this guy if you want to take the picture down for now, because I can circle back to it, because I feel like what I'm saying is not going to relate very much to.
No, for sure. I'm just showing how creepy they look.
To
help illustrate that they are the wizards of Wall Street.
Yeah, I'll circle back to it at the end for sure. But I know crypto, there's quite a lot of scams going on from the communist perspective. I noticed anti-imperialist states don't seem to be backing crypto. They seem to be backing conventional state-backed currencies or currencies of an economic union, like with Lula's recent win in Brazil. We're seeing talks of a pan-Latin American currency potentially. So that seems to be more what anti-imperialist states are going to back, as opposed to this crypto. Crypto seems like a lot of shady, kind of that capitalist grind set, ripping off honest people with these kind of hipster entrepreneurs, kind of in our age demographic, actually, judging by the looks of this character here. I thought it was really funny how they described his like unkept hair or something like that.
Yeah.
But he seems like certainly a mad scientist type of guy, but above all, seems like the archetype of the capitalist hustler. A lot of youth who buy into capitalism try to ascribe to be like, and there's no morality to it. As you said, this dude looks like a total creep, and of course that might seem like a harsh judgment, but he ripped off a lot of people, so I think that's completely fair,
of course,
make. And it's unfortunate too, because I just today, one of my coworkers got scammed in one of those phishing scams. Unfortunately, it's really sad. It wasn't Bitcoin, but it was something else. And it's just really sad to hear about that type of thing, especially when so many working class people are in such a bind right now. But kind of flipping over, because I know you've been doing a number of streams about the topic of Zionism. So I was kind of interested in talking to you about that, because you've done a lot of research. And on my channel, I think kind of following the comments of Ye recently, that's got a lot of people discussing the Zionist lobby. Now, those weren't the exact words he was using, and he was kind of off base in some of the things he was saying. But nonetheless, a lot of people are talking about Zionism. And as you mentioned, it's a topic in even socialist spaces. Sometimes people are a little bit hesitant to address. So I realized, okay, I might revisit this topic and do a bit more research myself. In early 2021, with some Jewish comrades, we actually did a podcast demarcating Zionism from Judaism, explaining how Zionism as a geopolitical project differs from Judaism as a religion. And so, as a lot of people know who listen to my content, I'm of a South Asian background, and in the subcontinent currently there's a Zionist aligned, actually, Hindutva government. So Hindutva is far-right Hinduism. And I think where Israel as a state differs from India is India was not built on Hindutva, regardless of what the BJP and RSS would want to tell you. That's not what the Indian nationalism of Tagore was about at all. Israel was built on Zionism. So whichever party's in power, it's built on this kind of like settler colonial project, whereas India as a state was not built on that. So you could get the BJP out of power and the state won't be about Hindutva. But Israel, it's something else. And I think the thing that I kind of want to, I'm going to revisit this, but I want to emphasize to people is understanding Zionism as a subset of Anglo-American imperialism. And I think it was really good how you put in the description Anglo-Zionism. And understand Britain has a historic relationship with the Holy Land, it goes back to the Crusades, actually. And that's something I want to kind of expose more, because you posted an excellent clip by the phenomenal orator Kwame Ture about how the Zionist state got their land bequeathed them from the British Empire to essentially push out the Palestinians and eventually push out other Arabs. And there's kind of a goal for this to be the beachhead in the quote unquote Near East or Western Asia. So I kind of wanted to explain to people that Zionism is like a subset of Anglo-American imperialism and understand how it fits into things globally. So I would kind of like next year, maybe I can have you back on to talk about this too, but kind of explain that historic relationship that Britain has had with wanting to control the Holy Land, which completely ties into Anglo-evangelicals in the United States of America, who are Zionists like Mike Pence, who basically view America's funding of Israel as, of course, the Israeli bourgeoisie, they completely benefit from this, but the evangelicals in America, they control the Holy Land through this project that's a larger puzzle piece of imperialism. That was kind of my piece. I just want to give my analysis as I understand it. But you've said some very interesting things about how inversely Israelis have trained death squads in the areas where your folks are from too. So I found that really interesting. And
no, you bring up a great point, because if you look at a lot of the top magic money magicians on Wall Street, Sam Bankman-Fried, his family, big supporters of Israel. Bernie Madoff, his family, big supporters of Israel. Steven Cohen, his family, big supporters of Israel. BlackRock, the largest finance corporation in the world, the largest bank in the world, big supporters of Israel. This stuff goes back thousands of years, and it gets into touchy subjects because a lot of people on the left don't want to talk about this or acknowledge this. But like you said, there's a difference between Zionism and Judaism, and it's important to discuss these things in a way that is historically accurate. And what's interesting is that when you start looking at the origins of Wall Street, when you start looking at the origins of insurance companies and banking institutions, and why is it that banks have names, use titles like water and liquidity and currency and banks, all of this stuff goes back to biblical times, to Jerusalem, to the Crusades. And what's interesting is that when we look at the Bible, we see that in the New Testament, what is it that Jesus does in the New Testament to the Pharisees? He goes to the temple.
I was going to say, Jesus was a Jewish revolutionary. He said rebelling against the Pharisees.
Right, exactly. Jesus was a Jewish revolutionary who rebelled against the Pharisees, who said that the Pharisees began a new pact with a new God. They no longer followed the God. They followed a different God, which was the golden calf or the materialism, the temple. They worshiped the temple more than God itself. They worshiped money and money changing and banking. This is the origins of banking institutions, is the ancient quote unquote Israel. And Jesus was rebelling against that, right? He kicked out the money changers from the temple. He said the most important temple, it's not a physical temple with gold and money and banking. The most important temple is your body. This is why your temples in your brain, these are called your temples, because
that's a good
they are your body, your mind is your temple, right? That is the most important thing. And so this fight between these banking institutions, these banking wizards, and people who are even before socialism, right? Going back to Christianity, Christian anti-capitalism and religious anti-capitalism. This goes back thousands of years, this fight against banking. And so what happens is that after the year 66, after the Roman Jewish War in 1966, a lot of the Pharisees left the quote-unquote land of Israel, and a lot of them went to places like Venice. A lot of them moved to other parts of the world to continue their mercantile trade. And this is why banking became an important institution for them, because they were able to continue to preserve their wealth in the form of coins and things that are portable and movable, and they can continue to make money. This is how the Venetian banking institutions came about, the Spanish, the Germans, all of that came about from that 66 conflict after the temple. So this cartel of users of banking institutions has moved around a lot, has called itself different things, but the essence is the same, right? As Bird World it says, anti-usury swag. Usury, right? Usury and banking, it's magic. It's basically saying that I'm gonna give you something and you're gonna give me more of that in return, out of thin air, right? And with a lot of this stuff of Sam Bankman-Fried and Bernie Madoff and these capitalists and crypto, we're talking about things that you can't see or feel. Like, you can't hold crypto. I mean, they have like the tokens or whatever, but like, you can't physically hold it. You can't use it. And so much of these institutions of Wall Street and banking have religious and biblical implications. On a B level, I don't know how pressed you are for time, but I just want to play a clip, and I want to get your reaction
honestly,
to it, if that's cool.
I'm probably good for another 15, even 20 minutes if you want to stretch it over.
All right. I want to play a clip, and tell me what you think of this clip, because I want to get your thoughts on it. Because somebody, and I like having this conversation with you and Comrade Tian and others, because you guys are open-minded. When I first got into communism, a lot of people talk shit about me. They'll say, "Oh, you're like conspiracy theorist. You're crazy. Like, who cares about this?" Like, they only read Marx and Lenin, and they don't go into other understandings of like I've recently been into like, what are the religious understandings of currency and banking and stuff. Islamic commentary, the hadiths on banking are like so fucking interesting. But anyway,
before you play
I want to play the.
Would you mind just for a minute? I gotta add to that. But Marxists that only read Marx, because Marx did not only read himself, because he drew from so much. Lenin drew from everything. Like, real Marxists in the historical Marxist canon read everything. They read the Marxist canon, they read religious stuff, they read stuff the imperialists were writing, the full spectrum. Carlos Garrido on Midwestern Marx, he recently spoke that there's this false notion that those of us who are quote-unquote Marxist or scientific socialists, we only read that canon. That's false. We read everything and synthesize. And Ramiro and I, we talked about that with Pedro X on an episode called Seven Sins of the Left, where we said there is a lot of value in checking out the scripture, whether you're religious or agnostic or atheist. There is some human wisdom contained in there over the millennia that can help inform us, or at least understand thinking processes. So I totally know what you mean, especially on the online left. People, they pick Marxism as an identity as opposed to a science that you study outside of everything else that you are. And I think it kind of speaks to a alienation and atomization within capitalist society, where people say, I identify as red, I identify as a Marxist, versus using this as a tool to explain our reality. Anyway, I could
most definitely. And like, so one of the people who I listen to, again, right, like, not everybody that I study or read or listen to, I 100% agree with. Like, people have to get out of this understanding that like, oh, if you read this or listen to that, you 100%. So one of the guys that I like to listen to, I don't agree with everything he says. Hold on, give me a second. I don't agree with everything he says, but I think he has a lot of interesting commentary. And one of those guys is, have you heard of Jordan? Not Jordan Peterson. Imagine Jordan Maxwell.
I haven't heard of him.
You have or haven't?
I haven't. No, I have not.
You haven't? All right. I'm gonna play a clip. Let me know what you think about it, because it's kind of talking a little bit about that. Hold on. Okay. Let me play this real quick. Hold on. All right. Here you go.
Banking law is of course money, and money is maritime admiralty. Well, as I said, the judge sits on the bench. He rules on the bench, and the bench in Latin is a bank. Where do you find banks? You find banks on the side of a river, called river banks. And what does a river bank do? It directs the flow of the currency, because your currency is the cash flow, the liquid asset.
Wow.
And so money goes through your hands like water. No, money is water.
That's amazing.
It's the flow. It's the ebb and flow, the tides. Money goes out, money comes in. That's why you have income taxes. There's nothing wrong with income taxes. The way the system in America is set up, there's nothing wrong with it. They print the money, but as much money as you print, you've got to take some back in to make it valuable.
The tide.
The tide. So it goes out, it's got to come back in.
Wow.
So it's not the income tax is not there because the government needs the money. No, the government finances itself through all kinds of other ways. Income tax is to pull back in the breath, like the breath of Shiva. You put it out, and they print it out. It goes out into the world. Now you have to pull it back in to inhale. Then you exhale again, and then you pull it back in because it's the ebb and flow of commerce. It's the ebb and flow of the juice that makes it all happen. Saturn was referred to as, in the ancient world, the planet or the god Saturn was referred to as El. El, and from which we get the concept of the worship of El, of the worship of God.
The Elohim.
From Elohim.
Right.
Which, then once you are worshiping El, the concept is that you now have become an elder.
Oh.
Now, because you're an elder, how did you get to be an elder? You got elected.
Oh.
Yeah, and once you get elected, now you have become one of the elites because you've become elected to be one of the elites. How did you get to be elected? With electricity. Wow. Because it's the juice, the flow.
It all goes back to Saturn, you're saying. The
all goes back to the planet Saturn.
Now, are all the religions sort of conspiring together to maintain this control?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But it's not a conscious thing. It's
no. It's just business, like the mafia says. There's nothing personal here. It's just business. You're going to corner the market, and the Catholic Church cornered the market and was killing people who didn't buy into their system in the Middle Ages. And it's still just a business today.
But let's talk about consciousness in a sense, because it's not people. There seems like to be a force that's beyond the human realm that's manipulating.
Well, of course, when the Bible talks about the spirituality and God, and when you talk about God, I mean, that's a whole subject in itself about God as a word. God is simply dog spelled backwards.
I know.
That's why the teachings about God is called church dogma, because it goes back to the dog star in Egypt. Sirius, the dog star. The whole concept of religion, words, terms, courts, government, financing, commerce is a massive, incredible story of how words and terms and symbols have been used for thousands of years, and 99% of the people on the face of the earth have no idea in the world how this stuff really works.
Well, it's been used to manipulate and control people.
Of course.
Because we still are seafaring people, so we're still under the law of the maritime.
Of the maritime, that's right. It's just business, nothing personal.
Yeah.
But did you know that if a policeman gives you a ticket, that ticket, a cop pulls you over and gives you a ticket. That is called a ticket in commerce. And so if you go to buy something and you don't have the money and it's too expensive, you ask me to co-sign for you. Now, if I co-sign for you to buy something and I co-sign on the ticket, that means if you don't pay it, I have to, right?
Right.
Therefore, when the cop gives you a ticket, he signs it first. It's called a ticket in commerce.
Right.
Because money is going to change hands.
Right.
Therefore, when you sign it, you are the co-signer of the ticket in commerce. Well, as a co-signer, you don't have to pay the ticket. You were just a co-signer, and you can decide, I don't think I want to pay that ticket. So then you send the ticket and the paperwork to the Secretary of State, and they then give it to the Attorney General. The Attorney General then sends it back to the cop, and the cop has to pay the ticket because he's the one that signed it first. You were just a co-signer. But as long as you don't understand this, people don't understand the way banks and commerce works.
And government.
And religion. And
taxes. So it's all together. Religion, government, corporation.
It's all one big show. And if you're not licensed to play in the show, like George Carlin used to say, it's a big club and you ain't in it. But once you understand how the club really works, what the words mean.
Right.
I mean, I'll give you another example. When you buy a new car, what do you get with the new car? In the glove compartment, you get something called the operator's manual.
Right.
Because when you're in a car, you are referred to as an operator of a motorized vehicle.
Right.
You're an operator of a car. But if with those wheels, I don't care if it's a tank or bicycle or motorcycle or car, it doesn't matter. If you're using those wheels to make money, now it's business. Now you're not an operator. By law, in corporate law, you are now referred to as a driver. That's why you have a bus driver, a cab driver, a truck driver. Not a cab operator.
So what's the difference?
There's a world of difference, because as a driver, you're now in business. You're making money with those wheels. You're not using it for personal use. You're now a driver. So now you in business, you got to have a license. It's called a driver's license, because you are now in maritime admiralty law making money.
So that stuff is really fascinating. Again, right? Like,
wow,
like I don't want to. I don't want to.
Rapper.
Yeah, like there's things in it that are obviously ridiculous, or things in it that obviously we disagree with, or whatever. And we can nitpick and purity spiral.
I
about,
couldn't
like,
even
what
follow
he's saying.
all of that, to be honest.
Right? No, neither did I. But I think what he says that's really interesting. That a key point that he says there is that there are certain terms and phrases in banking and in finance that completely change the nature of things. And I feel like these are the legal and financial loopholes that people like Sam Bankman-Fried, Bernie Madoff, Steven Cohen use, especially when worshiping money and banking as if it were water, liquidity and currency and banking. What are your thoughts on that? I know that's kind of on the deep end. A lot of more liberal communists are not used to that. And again, I approach this with a critical eye as well.
Yeah.
But, what are your thoughts on that?
It was interesting seeing the connections of all those different words, and the L part was just flying all over the place. It was it was interesting to see the connection, and again, I'm kind of like versing myself in the study of all of this to give a more comprehensive historical picture. Kind of going back to what you were saying about the Pharisees, and connecting that to what I was mentioning about Hindutva earlier. Someone in chat made a really good point about how New Spain was founded on a perverted version of Christianity. I think in all of the faiths, it's important to as I say, and separate those who are truly faithful from those who are satanic. You know what I mean? And separate those, who are perverting the faith versus those who are just trying to live a good, wholesome life. And that happens in all of the religions, whether it's Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, etc. It's all over the place. We can see it all over the world. And especially with what's going on with the Zionists, that really, I had a lot of empathy for my Jewish comrades, seeing what's going on in India right now, the Hindutva and the far right there. So I think what's really key, if we care about all our peoples, if we care about those our relatives who practice faith, is having open conversations about those who are trying to pervert the faith. That's really important to call it out. Now, of course, those who are perverting it, those who are trying to hold on to.
I think B Level got disconnected. Damn, he was onto a really good point too. Here he is.
There
you go. You're back on. No worries.
Anyway, yeah. Wow, that was quite a moment to get cut out for. We should have this conversation.
Yep.
But it's important, I think, to have those conversations, and those who are trying to pervert things and hold on to power. Obviously, you're going to try to shut down conversation when they're called out for stuff. And again, I'm not being specific here. I'm talking about all faiths, because this is all over the world. So I think we should be, as scientific socialists, be able to put everything on the table, analyze it, look at historical trends, how things flow into the powers that be, and how imperialism at different phases uses faith as a weapon, and it sometimes uses atheism as a weapon too. We see the inverse of that. And imperialism,
the Iran protests.
Yeah, imperialism is wicked. It's satanic. It will use anything and everything to subvert the peoples of the world. And so we have to be very critical and also show solidarity when the times get tough. So I guess that's my overall message. I hope I covered this well, because I'm trying to
he did
the best analysis I can with my knowledge. And I appreciate you trying to facilitate these conversations and get people thinking, because we're all shadow banned right now, but there's not a lot of this kind of quality discussion out there, and I hope I can make it on Frank Analysis this Friday. I might not be able to, so I want to pop in today. So as always, bro, thanks for having me.
For sure, man. I appreciate it. And everybody go check out B-Level Ewoks Unhinged. Go check out his channel. Amazing stuff. Amazing content. Thanks, man. Talk to you soon,
Peace, bro.
Cool. So I'm going to play another clip. This is another guy that I found pretty interesting, Bernie Madoff. I also find it interesting that his last name is Madoff, as if like made off with all this money. I'm going to play a little bit of this. I found this shit so interesting. Just like how he was able to get away with all this stuff.
The news broke on December 11th, 2008, and within seconds, phones were ringing around the world. Michael Bienis was in London when he got a phone call from his business partner, Frank Avellino.
And I said, Frank, what's wrong? Because I could hear it in his voice. Michael, Bernie Madoff, I said, he died. In a nanosecond, he died. Was arrested. I said, oh no, and then another nanosecond, sex crime or some, for stock fraud.
Phones were ringing in Palm Beach, too.
I received a call from an investor in Aspen who said he had heard that Bernie was arrested. And I called Bernie's office and I called his secretary and I said, gee, we just got this really strange call. And she said, no, everything's fine.
Emails were flying.
I read it and then I read it again. I was like in shock, like non-believing shock. And I thought he couldn't possibly have, this isn't true. It's impossible to be true.
It was the largest stock fraud in history.
Oh my, in an instant, as with everybody else, you see everything just gone.
Mr. Madoff, what do you have to say for yourself?
There are lots of questions.
To your investors.
How did he pull it off?
How do you...
Who helped him?
Are you sorry for what you did?
Mr. Madoff, what would you say to all those people that lost money, Mr. Madoff? What would you say to them?
And when did it all begin?
Bernie, hey Bernie, give me one nice shot, buddy. Bernie, turn around, buddy, come on.
The year was 1960. Madoff had just graduated
Sorry
from
about
Hofstra
that.
College.
Thanks to Wildflowers. You're muted. All right, cool. Yeah, my fault. Sorry, guys. Philly said it's important to note that Bernie Madoff was only apprehended because he screwed rich elite folks, not the plebs. That is a very, very crucial, important comment. And that is a key point that I want to make tonight is that a lot of these people like Sam Bankman-Fried, like Bernie Madoff, like Steven Cohen, and all of these other financial magicians, they get a lot of attention in mainstream media because they're fucking over rich people. They're not fucking over your average, everyday working class person who runs a small business or is an employer. They're screwing over investors and other rich people. So they are scamming the scammers, so to speak. So that's something that I find pretty interesting as well. Shout out to Kevin. I read his book, In All Places Jail. I read about this filthy crook when I was in for just a little marijuana charge right before it was legalized and when I had a medical license for another state. Damn, sorry to hear that, Kevin. Yeah, it's crazy. Bernie Madoff's story is insane.
His high school sweetheart, Ruth Alpern. He was working out of her father's accounting firm in Midtown Manhattan. From there, he launched a career as a market maker, matching buyers of stocks with sellers on Wall Street.
He started this little stock trading firm, one of many in Wall Street's outer fringes at that time, and slowly built it up, building up customers. It was kind of like a wholesale firm. He would actually pay clients such as Fidelity, Charles Schwab,
He'd pay them a penny a share to come and trade through him, so he saw lots of trading volume that way.
In other words, he would pay for what they call order flow.
Exactly.
What wasn't known on Wall Street was that Madoff had a side business as an investment advisor.
The investment advisory business operated, so far as we can tell, completely under the radar. We know to some extent that it began small. Customers of his who go back the longest started with very small nest eggs.
Madoff's first clients were friends and associates, recruited in places like Queens, Long Island, and the Catskills. With promised returns of around 18%, entire families jumped in. As word spread, Madoff enlisted 2 accountants from his father-in-law's firm.
Another great comment. Shout out to Turn Leftist, by the way. Go show love to Turn Leftist, a really great crew of comrades with a tremendous podcast. Wage theft of billions goes unnoticed every year. One guy scams the rich and they crucify him. Exactly. That's the key point right there. And when I know the title of the stream is The Wizards of Wall Street, and we're kind of focusing on especially Sam Bankman-Fried, Bernie Madoff, and Steven Cohen. But I think the crucial point here is this exactly, like this point exactly hits it right on the head. Wage theft of billions goes unnoticed every year. One guy scams the rich and they crucify him. That in itself, like, is a crazy, magical, whatever you want to call it. Like the fact that they steal from us every hour of every day and they mystify it, they conceal it, they dress it. Marx even talks about this in Capital. He describes capitalist accumulation and capitalist usury and the parasitic nature of capitalism as vampiric. He calls it vampiric capitalism, a phantom-like vampire that sucks away the energy of the working class. And this is happening every hour of every day. It's not just the Sam Bankman-Frieds. It's not just the top hedge fund guys. It's happening every day and every hour. And this in itself, like the fact that the mainstream media is only focusing on these guys, that in itself is a method of manipulation and really showing that. So I want to thank the comrades at Turn Leftist for pointing that out. And also I think Comrade Philly as well. But that's, really crucial point that I kind of wanted to raise. With that said, I think I'm going to leave it there, but thank you guys. I hope you guys have a great weekend and take care.
Красная армия, всех